For some background of this story, I am a female, and this took place about 5 years ago during my junior year of high school. It was sometime in the first semester, and I was in my 5th hour class, which was drawing. They held all of the art classes at the oldest wing of the school, which had a different feel from the rest of it, and was kind of isolated from other parts of the school because it was only connected through one hallway at the end. It was darker and colder, and needed some updating from the chalkboards in the rooms to the old-fashioned lights. People would often start rumors that the wing was haunted, but I never believed them. On this day, when I was in class, I finished my drawing pretty early, and I knew that I would just be sitting there for the rest of the period, so I asked my teacher if I could go to the bathroom. She was a nice teacher and always said yes. I knew she didn't really care how long I was gone, as long as I made it back before the bell. I walked out of the classroom and down the hall and went to the girls' bathroom. This bathroom in the hallway also had an old-fashioned theme to it. It was near the end of the hall, and you had to go around a small corner to get to it. I'm not gonna lie, it was a kind of creepy bathroom, but I always liked it because other people rarely used it. Once inside, I went into one of the stalls. I was in there for maybe 20 or 30 seconds when I heard the bathroom door open and shut. I was a little surprised to hear somebody else coming in here at this time, and I looked underneath the stall to see some old rundown boots with black pants. Obviously I couldn't see much, but it didn't really look like a girl based on those shoes. There were several stalls in that bathroom, and I expected the person to go into one of them, but instead I heard them walk slowly closer and closer to me. As they did, I got a little bit uncomfortable. Then they stopped just in front of the stall that I was in. I could see through the cracks of the stall just barely who it was. It appeared to be a grown man. When I looked, he seemed to be looking through the stall right back at me. I didn't recognize him at all, and I knew he wasn't supposed to be in here. Then he tried opening the door, which of course I had locked. I sat there in shock, and my heart started pounding extremely fast. I was thinking of what I would do if he broke into the stall, and I knew I would have to try to get away from him. But after trying the door, the man stood there for a moment and then walked away slowly. I started to feel relieved, but instead of leaving the bathroom, the man just stopped in front of the exit and stood there. I could see his shoes on the floor just standing in front of the exit, blocking the doorway. I waited for a few moments, hoping he would leave, but he just remained standing there next to the door. I decided to pull out my phone and text some of my friends who went to school with me. They were all in other classes, but finally I reached my friend David, who was on the football team, and he said he would come down and see what the man was up to. I was relieved once again when he said he was on his way, and I figured it would only take him a couple of minutes to arrive. The whole time that I waited, the man just kept standing there by the door. Just then, out of nowhere, all of the lights in the bathroom went off. It went completely dark in there, and I couldn't see a thing. I started to panic and braced myself for the man possibly trying to open the stall door again. Finally, at last, I heard the door open and heard the voice of my friend David. He said my name, and then he turned the lights back on. I heard some commotion, and I opened the stall door. I saw David leaving the bathroom behind the man. The man ended up running out of the school through an exit which was nearby. I saw David run to the exit and go outside, but he came back in shortly after and said that when he got outside, he didn't see anybody at all. I returned to class and reported the incident. I ended up having to talk to the principal, and those bathrooms ended up getting blocked off the next week. In May of 2018, I was a senior in high school. It was getting towards the end of the school year, and some of us seniors planned out a senior prank. We'd made a group chat with a few of us and planned to fill the senior hallway with red Solo cups. It was a pretty innocent prank. The plan was for me and my friends Tony and Derek to be the ones to set it up. We knew of the perfect time to do it, which would be late at night when nobody else was at the school. The three of us met at the school at about midnight. Tony knew of a back window that didn't close properly, and we were able to sneak through it and into a classroom. We then walked to the senior hallway. Our school was not all that big, and it didn't take us long to get there at all. Tony and I had backpacks filled with cups as well as an additional bag. It was strange to be in our high school so late at night. It was so empty that it had an eerie feeling. We took the cups and began setting them up. We knew it was going to take some time, but with the three of us, it actually went by pretty quickly. When we had completed about 15 to 20 feet of the hallway, we started to hear a noise coming from around the corner of the senior hall. Because we had the cups set up, we couldn't walk past them to see what the noise was, but we didn't really want to either. Nobody was supposed to be in the school at this hour, but we thought maybe a janitor was working really late for some reason. When we heard the noise, we ran and hid behind a nearby wall. We considered just leaving, but we didn't hear the noises for a while, and the other seniors were counting on us to complete this prank, so we decided to take the risk and go back to work. We kept going and didn't hear any more noises until just when we were about to finish. It was the clear sound of footsteps coming from the same spot as before. We were glad to be done and wanted to leave, but before heading out, we paused and looked over to where the noise was. Then we saw a man appear. He was short and was wearing a black sweatshirt and appeared to be in his late 20s. He just stood there staring at us with a blank look on his face. We knew he definitely did not work at the school, and the three of us decided to take off for the exit. We were able to quickly leave the school and ran all the way back to our cars. The next day when we showed up to school, all of the red Solo cups were messed up and scattered across the hallways. We didn't tell anybody about the man that we had seen because we didn't want the school to know we had done the prank, especially after how it turned out. I assumed that the man left the school because we never heard anything more about it, but I still wonder sometimes what he was doing in there. When I was in high school, I played football and baseball. During the wintertime, I would be in before-school weightlifting. This particular story took place my sophomore year. One day, my mom dropped me off early at about 6 o'clock in the morning. Our lifting went from 6:30 to 7:30, so it was a very early day for me. I went in the entrance that I always did, which was on the east side of the school. It was the easiest for my mom to just drive up and drop me off at. It also happened to be the complete opposite end of the school from where the gym was, so when I walked to lifting, it would always be very quiet. On this day, however, when I passed by the social studies hallway, I noticed that the teacher's lounge light was on, and I could see right in. That was rare because the lounges had blinds that were almost always down, and I had never really seen into one. It got my attention, so I walked over to the window and looked inside. I saw a few couches and a microwave. Typical stuff, but then I saw a man in there. He wasn't a teacher from our school, though. He was facing a bookshelf and appeared to be looking through the books, but by the way he was dressed and the looks of him, he didn't seem to be a teacher or a high school worker. He was wearing just a t-shirt and jeans and didn't look very well put together. Still, I was tired and figured he must work for the school or something, and I went on with my walk to lifting. After weightlifting, I went to my daily classes, and it was a pretty normal day. That is until second hour, when out of nowhere, we got an announcement over the school intercom that we were on a lockdown. I was in English class, and the teacher locked the door and told us all to remain seated. None of us knew what was going on, and we all asked a lot of questions, but couldn't get a clear answer. Things grew very quiet, and I could tell by the look on my teacher, Mrs. Anderson's face, that it was serious. She ended up turning off the lights in our classroom. There was only about 15 kids in my class, and probably 400 in the whole school, so we knew this had to be fairly serious. We remained seated and were completely silent for what felt like a long time. At one point, we saw the silhouette of a man walk in front of our door, but couldn't tell who he was, and then he walked away. We heard some shouting only a couple of minutes later, and after about 20 more minutes, the lockdown was finally lifted. I later came to find out that the man that I had seen in the teacher's lounge was a former student who had graduated about 10 years prior. He was high on drugs and angry at one of the social studies teachers for some reason. He had hid under a couch in the teacher's lounge until the teacher came in and he attacked him. He then ran out into the halls, causing the lockdown, but was caught by police shortly after. I felt bad that I hadn't reported the man earlier, and I told the principal my story. She said that it wasn't my fault, and the teacher who was attacked was just fine and had no serious injuries.